allergies. She recommends keeping shoes outside and cleaning your hard floor surfaces with bleach once a week. A St. Louis County man is behind bars accused of harassing people at local synagogues. According to court documents, 50-year-old Brian Klopfenstein Jr. made frequent unwanted visits and multiple disturbing calls to synagogues over the past year. Klopfenstein was convicted of killing his father back in 1997.
This afternoon will be sunny to partly cloudy and very warm with a high of 85, then mild with increasing clouds, low 64 tonight, a couple of showers and a thunderstorm for tomorrow. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zare on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Right now it is partly cloudy and 76 degrees in downtown St. Louis at 12:04. I'm Debbie Monterey, KMOX News.
At Sandberg Phoenix, we're more than just a law firm. Our attorneys are committed to you, your business, and your community. We are ready to serve you in the areas of business litigation, intellectual property, health law, and products liability. SandbergPhoenix.com. The choice of lawyers, an important decision, and should not be based solely on advertising.
This is the Gashouse Gang on your home of the St. Louis Cardinals. 11:20 a.m., 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Here's a swing, and there's a fly ball hit to deep left field. That's going to leave the ballpark. A 3-run homer for Eli White, his first of the year. 4-1 Atlanta in the 8th inning.
Yeah, the Cardinals drop a series to the Braves, so the road problems continue for this team, as do the bullpen issues for the St. Louis Cardinals, which has been, as a unit, the biggest issue in 2025 so far. It is the Gashouse Gang until 1 o'clock. Bernie Miklas and Chris Ranji with you today. We are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter at KMOX Sports. You can search for Gashouse Gang on YouTube. You can search for it on the Odyssey app as well. And if you want to comment through YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, we'll see it, and we will try to get to as many of those. And you can text the show at 314-436-7900. Voice messages on the Odyssey app. So, well, there it is, Bernie. The same problem really for the Cardinals has existed all season because there are nights where they don't hit, but for the most part, they have been hitting this year. There have been nights where they're not necessarily getting good starts, but for the most part, they've been getting good starting pitching this year. It's the bullpen. It really is the bullpen that has been the biggest issue so far, and it keeps going. And it makes me, I'm pretty concerned because we're almost done with the first month of the season, and there haven't really been any signs of that solidifying in any meaningful way.
No, the situation's actually getting worse. The numbers are just horrendous. You know, they have a 5.11 bullpen ERA on the season. That's 26th. Last year, they were a top 7 or 8 bullpen in ERA. They've blown more saves. They have more blown saves than actual saves. Their success rate on save opportunities is one of the worst in the league. And I came up with a stat, and then I'll put an end to the stats on this one. But you know, when Steven Matz is in the bullpen, and he's been in the bullpen for about 14 innings, you have Leahy, Maton, Helsley, and Matz. Those 4 guys have combined for a 1.99 ERA, which is outstanding. All the other relievers have an ERA of 9.33. So they just have no depth. You know, and when Matz is in the rotation, he's out of service for a while. So you really only have 3 worthwhile relievers to lean on. Leahy, who's been great. Maton's been very good. And Helsley's been Helsley, except Helsley doesn't pitch anymore.
Yeah.
He's only had three save opportunities in the last 16 games. So they're stretched very, very thin. And I don't see any, surefire answers down in Memphis. So you're right, Mr. Ranji, this will be a problem. I don't see how it really fixes itself.
It doesn't,
unless they get some help.
I feel like you see bullpens, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just feel, and I'm misremembering. But it feels like bullpens more often than not will start off okay, and then they kind of fall apart as the year goes on, as opposed to it going the other way, where it's just bad for a month or two, and then, they really, really found their footing. I mean, maybe there's some improvement, but usually it gets worse before it gets better.
And, one of the problems is, like, for example, Ryan Fernandez did really well for them last year. Although, in retrospect, looking back, I hadn't realized that in the second half of the season, his numbers weren't really all that good. And JoJo Romero, who was a really key piece of the bullpen when the bullpen was going well. Those two guys have just bottomed out. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And I'm not trying to be rude or nasty. They have just been throwing batting practice, basically. Romero can get left-handed hitters out, but he just gets annihilated by right-handed hitters. So when you take a couple of guys that were part of the bullpen's recent success or past success, and now they have become, frankly, they've become liabilities. That's a pretty big deal in determining the fate of your bullpen, whether it's going to be good like it was last year or whether it's going to go the wrong way. And so far, it's clearly going the wrong way. I would imagine that they're going to at least try to maybe try a couple of guys from AAA and let them see what they can do. But then again, they brought up Matt Swanson, who led the Texas League in saves last year and is pitching well. He was pitching well at Memphis. They brought him up, and he's been in one game, and Ali Marmol wouldn't use him yesterday. He went with Fernandez instead. So, I would say that to Ali, if you have really bad stuff going on with your bullpen, I mean, you've got to use everybody. If you bring a guy up, you've got to give him a chance. He's not out there just to kind of tend to the coffee pot or whatever in the bullpen. He's supposed to pitch.
Especially when you're doing a 6-man rotation, which they're,
Right.
that's not happening right now, but they plan to go back to it. And you mentioned Ali Marmol and Bernie yesterday. For the second time, I would say, he did it with us on the Gashouse Gang a couple of Tuesdays ago, where he was very open about the roster and sort of saying, hey, the roster is what it is. And I'm paraphrasing. And then yesterday he said this. We have it. I promise we have it.
A reliever comes into the game and it doesn't go his way. He's on an island. The game flips. The game's usually over. A position player goes 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. You run him back out there the next day and the next day, and you give him the ability to get out of it. A reliever, you don't feel like you have that luxury. It's very reactive, but this is who we got, and we got to get them back on track. There's nothing coming from down below where it's going to change what's going on up here. We have to get these guys better, and the only ways for them to pitch, it's absolutely frustrating.
Okay, so he made a roster comment there, and I know a lot of people took it the way of, well, he's, this is a cry for help, basically. He's saying, I have what I have. What do you want me to do? And I imagine a lot of that is because he's taking the heat for it. A manager always takes the heat for the bullpen when the bullpen doesn't perform. But he has individuals who are not pitching well. So that's part of the problem. He's saying there's no help coming. When you heard him say that yesterday, I know it struck you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've been listening to stuff like this for a lot of time, long time in many, many different sports. And I think I'm really good at decoding what they say. When there's a message in there, I think I'm really good about decoding it. There is no doubt in my mind whatsoever, none, that when Ali Marmol especially said, this is what we have and we've got to get them back on track, there's nothing coming from down below where it's going to change what's going on up here. We have to get these guys better. It's the only way for them to pitch. It's absolutely frustrating. That was a direct message. Well, it couldn't be direct because John Mozeliak wasn't in Atlanta. That was a message to John Mozeliak. That clearly was directed at John Mozeliak. And I have no doubt about it. They can say, oh, no, that's not true. I have no doubt about it. I've been through these things many times. That was a message to the front office.
So it makes me wonder if there is a mixing of messages, because we know front offices and managers work really closely together. They have to. And especially now where a lot of front offices sort of dictate how players are used on the field. It's not like the old days managers. Here's your 25 guys, and I'm going to plug them in wherever I want to plug them in. It's a little different now than it used to be. So it makes me wonder if maybe the communication isn't as good as we hope it would be, that he gets his players. And as a manager, you think, I'm trying to win every night, so I'm going to put guys that I think can win, as opposed to developing players, because we were told this was a transitional year going in. And if it's a transitional year, then you pitch all your young guys and you do it in big moments too, to see if they can do it. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out, and you figure out what that player is. But it's like there's a disconnect between what the season was supposed to be and how it's being managed, how the roster is being managed. And I'm wondering where the disconnect is, or I'm wondering if I'm reading it wrong.
No, I don't think you are. I don't know that it's a disconnect, though, as much as it is maybe a difference of opinion. And this and that, this happens between front offices and managers everywhere. They don't agree on everything. And John Mozeliak is responsible for the roster. Like not only putting it together, he's responsible for deciding whether a guy, say, for example, like Ryan Fernandez, stays in the big leagues or he goes to Memphis. That's his responsibility to make those decisions. The manager, the personnel that he has, he can use them however he wants to use the personnel. There is that kind of, line of demarcation there. But John Mozeliak, for whatever reasons, went a little soft on, trying to reinforce this bullpen over the offseason, even though Ryan Fernandez was not good in the second half of last year, even though Jojo Romero was terrible from about June 1st to the end of the season. And I think Mo assumed the bullpen would be good again this year simply because, well, it was good last year, but it doesn't work that way. Bullpens fluctuate wildly.
Yes.
They're volatile. The same pitcher one year can be terrible the next year. Guys get hurt too. That's the other thing. Relievers break or they pitch hurt. And so there wasn't enough of an effort made to kind of improve the depth. And your point is absolutely correct. They kept telling us this is the runway year for young pitchers. Well, Chris Roycroft is a young reliever with some ability, but as soon as he got banged up a little bit by hitters, they got him out of here. They shipped him to Memphis. They gave that Roddery Munoz, another young pitcher. He did a one and done, one appearance back to Memphis. They're keeping, Fernandez up here. They brought, instead of sending him down to fix that slider because he's defenseless without it. They have a situation where, as we mentioned, they did bring up Matt Swanson, but then that's on Marmol because he won't use them, and that's Marmol's fault. You got to use them. You can't be picky. So there's just what's the term here? I would say that this kind of yin and yang between the front office and the manager is a bit of they're just out of sync. They're not together,
Yeah, and I don't think it's I don't think it's toxic or anything like that. I just think that there might be, and it may not even be a disagreement. It may just be that Oliver Marmol knows what his job is, and he's thinking, I'm trying to win ball games here because if I don't, it's on me, right? Even if the front office says this is a transition year and it's about the young players and so on and so forth. If they really truly meant that, I think they would make it clear to him that, hey, we don't care if you win or lose games. We just want these young guys to get a shot. Because if they're not doing it that way, then they're doing a disservice to him. And this is, for me, this is not an outright defense of Oliver Marmol and that he's done nothing wrong and makes no mistakes, because he does. There are mistakes. Swanson is one of them. But I do think he is in a very, very difficult position. I don't think there's any question about that.
He is.
And I'm not sure. I don't know if there's any, if they brought in Joe Madden when he was great, or when things were going well for him, or, AJ Hinch or Snitker or any of these other really good, well-respected managers, I'm not sure the situation is a whole lot better than it is now.
No, because going back to what I said at the top, if when Matz is not in the bullpen, they only have three relievers they can reliably depend on. Helsley, Maton, and Leahy. I mean, and the stats bear that out. The other guys are like, well, probably he's going to get beat up here today, but we don't have anybody else, so we got to bring him in the game. I think Marmol's doing a lot of that. But I would also say that Marmol is going to have to re-examine his policy on Ryan Helsley, which is, as we know, because we all asked him about it Tuesday.
Yeah.
This policy of like, well, I'm only going to use Ryan Helsley in traditional save situations. I'm going to hold him out of the game unless there is a save opportunity. And when Helsley is put in reserve, so to speak, waiting for that save opportunity, which, by the way, may never come.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Then you're taking your best reliever out of the mix, and then you have two guys that are any good. And Leahy's really good, and Maton's been pretty good, very good. And then if Matz is in there, he helps. So if you the manager himself kind of subtracts Helsley because he's got very restricted, very stringent.
Yeah, it's rigid
rules.
Yeah.
Rigid rules. Sorry,
Yeah.
Matt. Rigid rules on when he will use Helsley. He can't afford to do that. He just can't.
Now, I understand that part of the issue is if you are a closer and you've been designated as that closer sort of expects to only close games. And there are implications beyond just the game itself that day. There's contractual implications because relievers get paid on saves, right? They get paid on finishing out games and the amount of saves they have. So I think part of that is the problem, but it can't be the very first thing you think about if you're managing a bullpen. It's a consideration, but it can't be the whole thing. Bernie Miklas, Chris Ranji on the Gashouse Gang. Tell us what you think. You can message us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter if you're watching there. You can text us at 314-436-7900. We have Dan Guerrero of the Post-Dispatch who will talk Cardinals with us. That's coming up at 12:30. It's the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
Farming's hard. To feed the world, farmers have to work the land, brave the elements, and fight the battle against weeds. Weeds reduce crop yields, so prices go up and everybody gets less to eat. But 50 years ago, farmers got a new tool to fight weeds, glyphosate. It kills weeds while protecting the harvest. Time and again, it has been approved by the EPA and by leading regulatory bodies around the world. It helps enable practices that reduce erosion and keep soil healthy, which is good for the earth. Farming's hard, but it's a little easier with glyphosate. Learn more at go.bayer.com/glyphosate. Paid for by Bayer.
Hi, Stacy with Fairwinds Rivers Edge Senior Living in St. Charles. Are you a senior seeking a fun retirement? Do you want less work and more play? Do you want to enjoy great food that you don't have to cook? Then I know. Stop what you're doing right now and call Fairwinds. Set up a time to visit and have a meal. Meet some of our awesome residents. Check us out online at fairwindsriversedge.com. We hope to talk with you soon.
Success is picking up extra shifts for your family. Now you want to be the boss. Success is getting your foot in the door. Now you want to take the next step. Success looks different to everyone, and University of Maryland Global Campus can help you reach your goals. And there's never been a better time to get started on your future. Apply now and save with no application fee. Classes start May 14th. As an accredited state university, UMGC has been transforming lives for over 75 years. With more than 135 undergraduate and graduate degrees and certificates, online and hybrid courses, personalized support, financial resources, and lifetime career services. Achieving your dreams is more possible than ever before. Choose the program that's right for your career goals and get started on your next success. Get your application fee waived now. Classes start May 14th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Get this, 42% of baby boomers don't even know how much money they have in their nest egg. If you're not sure where you stand in terms of getting ready for retirement, you should be listening to the All Financial Hour with Steve All.
Let's sit down and talk about your questions, because I think that's the most important thing that it is out there. It's what questions do you have?
Saturday mornings at 10 or Sunday evenings at 6, right here on KMOX.
There's something new taking shape in downtown St. Louis, an experience unlike anything else in sports. From the hustle on the pitch to all the flags and smoke and 22,000 fans chanting STL in unison throughout Energizer Park. This is more than just a game. This is St. Louis City Soccer. Learn more at stlcitysc.com/tickets. And experience it now.
St. Louis, your Battlehawks are back at the Dome this Saturday, April 26th versus the Michigan Panthers. Get your tickets now at uflbattlehawks.com and join us for our pregame salute to football and go full battle rattle this Saturday, April 26th. All tickets available at uflbattlehawks.com.
Help keep our community safe and healthy during National Prescription Drug Takeback Day, April 26th. Find a collection site near you at deatakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent drug misuse before it starts.
KMOX is everywhere. 1120 a.m. Streaming live on the Odyssey app and now at 104.1 FM.
1-0 Cardinals with 2 on. Strike 3 called on the outside corner. Ozuna got caught guessing.
Swing and a miss. He blew that one by him on the inner half, and Miles picks up his second strikeout and his 4th 0 on the scoreboard.
It's a good game. Maybe some more strikeouts, had some close calls there. Thought some calls could have gone either way. But overall, I like the results.
6 shutout innings for Miles Mikolas, who did not factor in the decision in the loss yesterday. The Cardinals dropped 2 of 3 in Atlanta. The Gashouse Gang is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. Bernie Miklasz and Chris Ranji. And this is the one guy in the rotation, Bernie, that I think we had the most concern about going into the season, just because, for the last couple of years, the effectiveness hasn't been there. But and even though the ERA is high, he has had a couple of good starts lately where he has at least kept them in games and given them an opportunity to win. And this is where it really gets frustrating for me. When you're getting 6 shutout innings from Miles Mikolas, you got to win those games. Those are the games you have to win.
No question about it. I agree with you that his 2 previous starts, my only problem with it, and I think it's a problem with Mikolas as he gets older, is that in both of those previous 2 starts, he pitched less than 5 innings, even though the pitching itself was fine. But when you have a bullpen that's as bad as this one, any kind of extra work you create for them is likely big trouble. So I would just note that. But yeah, yesterday was a whole different story. I mean, he had 6 shutout innings, and it was a really smooth performance. It was a good performance. It was a quality start, but they scored 1 run. And let's be honest, the only run they scored was a gift from Atlanta center fielder who went to make a diving catch instead of just playing it as a single, and the ball got behind him and they were able to score a run because he made the wrong decision out there. And I was really, really bothered by that, Ranjan. I'm glad you brought it up because the Cardinals lineup has been hit or miss lately. It's really been inconsistent. So yesterday, Atlanta started Bryce Elder, who in his first 3 starts of the season had a 7.20 ERA and has been getting walloped. And then he goes 5 innings and gives up 1 run. So you think, okay, well, these guys will get to their bullpen because Atlanta in the previous game had to use a lot of their relievers because it was one of those bullpen starts. It was nothing but relievers. And these guys couldn't get a run off the relievers either. So I found that, I hate to use dramatic language, but I found that frankly unacceptable that they could score only 1 run with this combination of Atlanta pitchers yesterday.
Yeah.
You have to do better than that. There were some horrible at-bats. And I hate to bring this up, but Jordan Walker is in a free fall.
He's not doing great. Nope.
He is in an absolute free fall. So they have not been hitting for power lately, and that's a big problem because whether we want to accept the modern game or not, when you hit home runs, you have a much better chance of winning. Now, you can't do nothing except try to hit home runs. But when you hit home runs, it can elevate you to victories that you otherwise would become losses. And they're not hitting home runs at all. They had they had more home runs in their first 7 games in the season than they've had in the last 18 games. So the power outage is a big problem.
Yeah, they're 20th in home runs in all of baseball right now. And it's not the only way to win a game. There are multiple ways to do it. But over 162, if you're not hitting home runs, you're making the job a whole lot more difficult of winning. Here's I know the trend is bad in terms of offense. I don't want to say bad, but it's not as encouraging as it was early on, right? So
right.
I'm not saying that. What I am saying is I'm at this point looking at the whole picture for the first month of the season. I'm finding it difficult to be upset with the offense yet, just because when they have won, it's been because of them and starting pitching at times, but mostly it's been the offense. Now, if this continues and the trend continues to worsen, now we got a problem. And you're right, looking at the way it's been going, it makes you feel like, all right, something has to change here, or this could get real ugly real fast.
Yeah, their first 7 games of the season, they averaged almost 7 runs per game, and that wasn't sustainable. But the last 18 games, they've averaged fewer than 4 runs, and their batting average is way down. Their on base percentage is down. The slugging percentage is really down. The home run rate's really down, and they've also tapered off with runners in scoring position. So I would say actually the offense over the last 18 games has not been good at all, except for some games here and there. So when you have an offense that's not giving the starting pitching has been excellent. Other than that series in Boston, the starting pitching has been excellent. But but what's changed is they're not getting run support. And so you have the perfect storm. Your starting pitchers are giving you a really good chance to win just about every time out, but your offense is malfunctioning. So then because your starting pitcher is keeping the other team from scoring a lot of runs, then you're not scoring a lot of runs. Then the thing carries into the late innings. And guess who has the bullpen advantage? It's the other side. It's not yours. So in other words, the way these games are playing out just really sets the Cardinals up for failure. And the way to change it, if you can't fix the bullpen, these fellows, it's easy for us to demand this, but these fellows are going to have to start scoring a lot more runs.
You're right. And because they're not winning close games, they were 29-22 in 1-run games last year. This year, they've lost all 5 1-run games they've played. So they can't win close games. Their only hope is not necessarily for blowouts, but it is to get a lot of offense because the bullpen isn't helping. All right, that's Bernie Miklas. I'm Chris Ranji. Again, continue to send us your comments and questions. We'll try to get to them as the show goes on. Dan Guerrero of the Post-Dispatch covers the Cardinals, and he is with us next on the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
Brought to you by your local Lennox Premier dealer, Scott Lee Heating.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother got life insurance from Ethos, and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Johns Hopkins University has found that just mild hearing loss doubles your risk of dementia. So hearing loss isn't something to ignore.
But hearing aids are so expensive and ugly.
Not anymore. Meet Audion Hearing. You can get nearly invisible hearing aids without a prescription starting at $98 a pair. And they're ready to use right out of the box. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health. And with over 1 million customers, Audion is easy to trust. Visit audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
81 degrees and partly cloudy in St. Louis. We're going to get a high of 84 today.
Brought to you by your local Lennox Premier dealer, Scott Lee Heating. Make sure your home's heating and cooling system is being cared for by your local Lennox Premier dealer, Scott Lee Heating. Special savings opportunities and federal tax credits are available. So call 314-756-9444 or visit online at scottleeheating.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Colleen Bosler, and I'd like to introduce our newest associate, Dr. Adam Voss.
Hi, I'm Dr. Adam Voss, the newest addition to the Audiology Center. I'm very excited to join this amazing team. I'm a St. Louis native, graduated from Washington University School of Medicine, and I'm passionate about hearing healthcare and connecting people back to the things that matter to them most: family, friends, music, or even their favorite British TV drama. At the Audiology Center, we care for our patients like our own family. If you ever need anything, come on by or call us and we will make sure to address questions or issues same day. My ultimate goal as your audiologist is to listen to your individual needs and guide you on your journey to improved hearing. There are a lot of audiologists in town, but only one Audiology Center. We might not know how to change a tire, but we know a thing or two about audiology. And I want our current and future patients to know that you can trust us with your hearing healthcare needs.
Thanks, Dr. Voss. The Audiology Center, 3 locations: Come visit us at the Audiology Center, STL.com for more information.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardie contractor and Pella window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050, and have a Banner day.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Underdog Fantasy Sports. Let me talk to my NBA fans out there. We have something cool for the first time called an extender. So here are the basics. You do a pick'em on game 1. You automatically get a 40% profit boost token. Game 2, 50%. Game 3, 60%. You following me? It goes all the way up to, if there's a game 7 necessary, a 100% boost token. You can play the MLB like I do, picking the Cardinals. You can play NHL, MLS. Simply pick your player, find the statistic, pick higher or lower, and that is it. You can win up to 1,000 times. It's really fun. I've really been enjoying it. So download the Underdog app now. Sign up with promo code Glover to unlock $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code Glover. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Cards manager Ollie Marble joins the Gashouse Gang every Tuesday at noon. Sponsored by Siteman Cancer Center on the voice of the Cardinals, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Gorman leads away from second base, the 2-1 pitch, and that is stroked into center field. It is going to get down. It gets past the diving Harris all the way to the wall. Gorman scores into second with an RBI double. Nolan Arenado, and the Cardinals are on the board.
Gashouse Gang on 104.1 FM, KMOX, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at KMOX Sports. You can watch us. Feel free to text into the show, 314-436-7900, or leave us a comment. We welcome those. Bernie Miklas, Chris Ranji today until 1 o'clock. Then it's Dave Glover. We bring in on the guest line from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch covering the Cardinals. It is Daniel Guerrero who joins the show this afternoon. How's it going, Daniel?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
We're doing okay. Good. Yeah, just, this is a team that got off to a really nice start, at least that first week. And then, things have been substandard since. So looking from a 30,000-foot view, what are you seeing with this Cardinals team?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, they had, got off to 3-0 start and then, kind of hit some struggles on the road. That first road trip to Boston, Pittsburgh, and this, second road trip, underwhelming one to New York and Atlanta against a couple of, teams that, you expect to be strong contenders as well. But yeah, I think one of the things that you kind of look at this team, especially when you compare it to last year, it's the differences in the bullpen, right? Last year that was a real strong point for the Cardinals. You also had some veteran presences out there, like especially with Andrew Kittredge and kind of what he did on the field and off the field of kind of helping the younger guys. So I think just this year that's kind of the one of the big differences, right? And you have some guys who are kind of in roles that they're growing at the major league level, like Ryan Fernandez and JoJo Romero. And Phil Maton's a veteran guy with a lot of experience as well, and he joined camp late and was kind of had a quick ramp up, but yeah, I think when you look at the differences and just kind of where the Cardinals are at right now, as we kind of near the end of this first month of the season, the bullpen is definitely one of those areas that with the youthful bullpen there could have been a little bit more turbulence to start the year, and I think we're starting to see some of that show up.
Daniel Guerrero, Bernie Miklas here, man. You do a really good job, and I know you're having sort of increased responsibility with some of the Cardinals coverage, but I've always enjoyed you tracking the farm system. I know you're doing some soccer, so you're a busy man. So thanks for giving us some time. I just wanted to welcome you before I ask you a question. I'm scratching my head because I don't know what the fix is in the bullpen. And this is where I wanted to ask you, because you have real good knowledge of what's in the minors. They brought Matt Swanson up, right? And at least so far, Ollie Marmol hasn't really, been in a rush to use him. But who else down in Memphis do you think is on a trajectory that could possibly help this bullpen? And why do you think they haven't brought any of those guys, if there are any? Why haven't they called on them?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen a couple. I mean, this year of guys who are in Memphis now. I mean, Roderick Munoz is one of them. Chris Roycroft, who opened the year in the bullpen, is another kind of young guy who's on the 40-man, has some big league innings under him. I think Riley O'Brien's another one who when healthy, and you kind of see some of that stuff really play. When he's been on, I mean, health was just one of the things that hurt him last year. But yeah, when you look at that depth and you look at some of the guys that I guess you just look at pitching options, right, on the 40-man and guys who can help. I think one of the things is that you have a good number of them who the Cardinals have wanted to keep on starter tracks, right? The obvious one when it comes to pitching depth at the minor league level in Memphis, Michael McGreevy is the one that stands out the most, and obviously the Cardinals have wanted to make sure he's a starter when he's in the majors, and that was a big part of his development and seeing him make strides. He had a couple of I know he made a relief outing last year, but they've been pretty clear that he's a guy who they want starting, and he's going to get starts in Memphis, or he's going to get starts in St. Louis if he's here. I think Gordon Graceffo is another one who kind of fits that bucket of somebody who they'd like to see in a starting role. And then you have a couple other guys on that 40-man who are a little bit looking for innings. Obviously Tin Kent is one who wasn't going to be rushed to the majors and still needs innings, and he's been sidelined by an injury. Takeo Roby's still in Double-A, and he's pitching there and getting innings after missing some time the last couple of years. Also on the 40-man, Sam Robertson is, it has been in Memphis and has been on a starter track. But yeah, I think that's one of those points when it comes to those prospects like McGreevy and Graceffo. You want those guys to get starts, and sure, breaking into the big leagues as a reliever obviously is part of one layer of development, and obviously the different looks they have could add to the bullpen. But I think just when you look at the long-term picture, you want those guys to be starters.
Daniel Guerrero of the Post-Dispatch is with us on the Gashouse Gang. And when Ollie yesterday says that there's nothing coming from down below that, that's going to change what we have going on here, that they have what they have, is this what he's talking about? That he knows that they want most of these guys to be starters, so it doesn't really help them in the bullpen? And do you believe that he's been told that hey, this is your team?
Mm-hmm. No, the way I kind of interpreted that was that the guys that they have are the guys that they want filling out big league relief roles, right? I think Ryan Fernandez and Jojo Romero are the two biggest examples of that, right? Where last year they both had strong years. Jojo Romero with the workload in the second half, you could see some differences from what he did in that first half, and Ryan Fernandez kind of the opposite, right? Kind of broke into like lower leverage roles and really rose up in prominence in that bullpen and delivered strong years. So I think the way I kind of interpreted that was just these are some of the guys that they want to develop as big league relievers and guys who can pitch in high leverage spots. And when you, I think, look at what this year has kind of been signaled to be, this what began as a reset now is a transition, and giving opportunities at the big league levels to younger players to grow and develop, at the major league level. I think that's kind of what's part of it, right? Like, this is what they have, and these are the guys who they would like to, have as pieces to the bullpen in the future, and they want to see that kind of see that process play out with kind of that runway, so to speak, that they've talked about, like on that position player side. And I think the same could be kind of said for the bullpen.
Daniel Guerrero with us from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and STL Today, and you can also follow him on X. What's your X account, Daniel? Because I failed to memorize it.
It's the Dan Guerrero. It was literally the only one that was available that made sense to me. That was like clear, like, okay, it's just a regular name that people could find. I prefer going by Daniel. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh, people see Dan and it's like, no, like this is just the name that was available to me.
The Dan Guerrero. You're like the Ohio State.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey,
it was like, yeah.
To turn the attention to the offense a little bit, but specifically Jordan Walker, I spent a good part of the morning looking at everything, and I have to tell you, he got off to a good start, but the last 15 or so games, it's really kind of bleak. Do you think that he's kind of headed into that rut that's going to be really, really, really hard for him to get out of? He went through this last year, and I say this with regret. It's looking pretty similar to last year, and that's a shame. So what do you think? Give us your assessment.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, he got off to a pretty strong start. I think when you especially looked at, I mean, I know I might be a little bit in a more new school type of thinking, but I mean, when you looked at like the metrics and like the exit velocity numbers and sort of like those, under the hood type things of, not that doesn't show up in the box score, but shows up just kind of really in sort of the eye test and in some of that advanced stuff. I mean, it looked really strong. I mean, he was really hitting the ball hard. And yeah, I think you're seeing kind of what we saw a little bit last year with kind of the trouble with those breaking pitches away. And that's obviously caused him to, those numbers to dip and production to kind of slow down. So, I mean, I think, especially when you look at last year, I mean, that was obviously a big part of the struggles that got him sent down and was kind of sort of that reason why he just kind of middled, I guess, from, kind of bounced around a little bit and then, was kind of looking for production at either level. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think that what he did in the first couple of weeks does give you hope or give you an idea that, okay, when he's on and this is what it can look like. And I think it kind of helps him as well to kind of have that feel of, okay, he's hit the ball pretty well, at certain points and kind of has that, foundation kind of in that memory bank. But yeah, I think this next stretch will be one of those where it's going to be part of that runway that the Cardinals have been talking about and seeing guys grow and develop. But this is going to be a stretch for him to make those adjustments, to know that he's going to have this, long stretch of opportunities to work on this at the major league level is going to be a big thing. And I mean, obviously, developing and working on things at the major league level is really tough, but yeah, I think this will be a pretty important stretch for him just to kind of get back on track and get back to doing what we saw in, those first few stretch of games.
With Mason Wynn coming back to the team, the Cardinals had to make a decision, and it was to keep Thomas Sajaci here, who's done well. And Bill wants to know where he is. He's not played the last 3 games. Bill's watching on YouTube, by the way, and he's a viewer and wants to know where he is and if he's going to play a little bit more. They have to, I guess, don't they, Dan, figure out a way to get him in the lineup? And if not, doesn't he need to go somewhere to get at bats?
Yeah, this was one of the tough decisions that you had a young player who's playing really well, and you had a young player who in Mason Wynn who's coming off the IL, and that kind of creates a little bit more of a log jam of position. I mean, obviously Mason Wynn's your starting shortstop, Thomas Sajaci is one of your top prospects, and they're obviously going to be in lineups wherever they're at, right? But I think with Sajaci it's a little bit tough because even though he has that positional versatility, playing, second, short, and third, you also have Nolan Gorman, who's a guy who hit the ball well the last couple of nights and is another guy who's a part of that, cast of core players that they want to give runway to. You have Brendan Donovan, who's been out the last couple of days, but is expected back this weekend, who is a regular in your lineup. We got Nolan Arenado at third, who's Nolan Arenado and is always going to play third, right? So it's one of those tough things where I think it's, like, I feel like it's easy to say, like, oh, just find a spot for him. But when you look at all the players who are there and who are healthy, you look at sort of what you want to get out of, especially a young guy like Nolan Gorman, right? Who this is a guy who they wanted to get at bats for as a part of this, reset that turned into transition. And And yeah, so I mean, so JC's in that boat where you want him to play wherever he's at, and obviously he played well enough to stay at the majors and kind of be that fill-in for when Brendan Donovan is out, and we just haven't seen him. But yeah, I mean, like you said, this is a guy who they need to get at bats for, because where he's at in his career and he's continuing to develop.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's going to be a tough one because you have so many young guys that you want to get playing time for. But then there's always that balance too of wanting to develop but also wanting to win. And Thomas JC has played well enough to be in lineups, but if he's not, then that's kind of where you have to make the tough call of finding a spot for him to play regularly. And if that's in Memphis, then that might be the best for his development. But
right.
I mean, if they're able to get him into lineups at the big league level, then obviously that's great for him to continue playing. But yeah, like you said, I mean, he needs reps. I mean, just because, I mean, he's 23 years old and, has hit wherever he's played at any minor league level, and starting to see that show up in the majors. And you kind of want, to continue to get him at bats to see more of that.
Daniel Guerrero of the Post-Dispatch, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Dan.
Thank you, guys.
Talking Cardinals with Daniel Guerrero, who covers the team for the Post. And now, Bernie Miklas, as we say goodbye, tell us about our friends at Saliga.
Today was a Saliga day at the Miklas home because we're a part of the Priority Club, and that's a preventative maintenance program. They come out and check your equipment generally twice a year, once before the hot weather. This is why they're here today, to make sure the air conditioning is functioning smoothly. And we got a good checkup, and everything's going fine. And it was quick, and it was easy, and it was smooth. And Saliga Heating and Cooling, as they've been doing since 1927, they're taking great care of us, just like they've been taking care of generations of St. Louis families. So I love when Saliga is in the house and they're working on things, and when we're in this Priority Club and we believe in it, and it's great because it saves us money over time. Because when you have these maintenance checks, these preventative maintenance checks, you will save money in the long run because it'll extend the lifetime of your equipment. So you don't have to be buying equipment all the time. And they can often detect a really minor problem before it becomes something major. So we're huge fans of Saliga Heating and Cooling.com, an independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer. And I would advise you to take a look at the Priority Club. And of course, it can handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, and even some other things like your indoor air quality. But for information on all of this, look at the Priority Club. Go to Saliga Heating and Cooling.com. That is Saliga Heating and Cooling.com. Thank you.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-day kitchen and bath.
Ask most contractors about a kitchen or bath remodel, and you'll get similar answers.
So how long?
About 2 months.
Longer than that.
3 days.
Longer than, wait a minute, what?
3 days.
3 days?
3 days or less. With 3-day kitchen and bath, you get a new kitchen or bath finished with top quality products and craftsmanship, all in 3 days or less guaranteed.
No eating out because my kitchen is in shambles for a month?
Nope.
No borrowing the neighbor's bathroom for weeks on end?
You'll have a whole new look in 3 days or less.
And those other guys?
They want our web address.
Hey, what's your web address?
See?
A lot of people will.
Just visit 3daykitchen.com. 3daykitchen.com.
3 days?
3 days. Yeah, isn't that something? 3-day kitchen and bath. Simply amazing.
3-day kitchen and bath.
The easiest way to park on game day is to park with iParkit. iParkit has the best game day parking garages in St. Louis. iParkit has 2 convenient garages on Clark Avenue, located right next door on either side of the ballpark. The iParkit Game Day garages have multiple entry and exits to accommodate all fans, no matter where you're coming from or headed to after the game. Download the iParkit app and drive in and out using only your license plate. Use iParkit for convenience and peace of mind on game day.
The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is coming back to St. Louis on May 7th. Join us at Energizer Park for the round of 32 as St. Louis City SC hosts Union Omaha and plays for the historic trophy. Get tickets now at stlcitysc.com/Open Cup.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling.
I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Spring into a new home with amazing savings at TR Hughes. Hi, I'm Jason Hughes with TR Hughes Homes, and we are currently offering half off up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs on brand new to-be-built homes at select TR Hughes communities. That's right, half up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs. Visit trhughes.com for details.
The choice of a home builder is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
However, you really should visit trhughes.com.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. The winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Now, back to the Gashouse Gang on your home of the St. Louis Cardinals. 1120 AM, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Gashouse Gang brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. A few more moments with Bernie Miklas and Chris Ranji on the Gashouse Gang. So, Bernie, I said this earlier. This is the must-win. I know that people say, oh, it's only if it's an elimination game. Nah, you can't go down 3-0. Blues have the Jets tonight at home. They cannot afford a loss tonight.
No, I'm with you on this one because, would it be possible for them to come back from 3-0? Not really. I guess anything's possible.
I mean, it's possible I become a pilot.
That's right. Yeah, or I would become maybe a dancer, like on one of the great dance companies in
whatever
America,
you put your mind to.
Exactly. So anyway, yeah, they got to get it. And listen, man, they've been a great team at home when things really clicked in right after the Four Nations face-off tournament. I mean, the Blues were basically unbeatable at home, and they did. They would wear teams down like 5-on-5. They just dominate them at 5-on-5. But the special teams were better at home. The goaltending was better at home, and they were really, really good for the most part at making sure to take good care of a lead in the third period. Although they did have a few slip-ups there, but this is truly a huge home advantage for the Blues. And Winnipeg was a strong team on the road during the regular season, but they were not as good of a road team as the Blues are a home team, if that makes sense. So the Blues got to get this one, and they got to clean up some stuff. They got to get in front of the net. They got to force the issue. They got to improve their 5-on-5 game. And I hope that Robert Thomas is actually – he's clearly playing in some discomfort. So is Parayko. I hope those guys, they're going to give it their all, but I hope they have it in them to have a big game tonight.
Bernie, they have had very few scoring chances, legit scoring chances late. That has to change tonight. They're going to have to figure something out.
They've only scored one goal that isn't a power play goal.
Right.
Ridiculous. You got to score, man. You got to score 5-on-5.
Let's go. Bernie, we'll do it again next week, man. Good to talk to you as always.
Always, man.
Bernie Miklas and Chris Ranji. If you missed the Gashouse Gang, if you missed the early part of it, our Cardinals conversation, go back and get it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, at KMOX Sports, or the Odyssey app. Coming up next, it is the Dave Glover Show on 104.1 FM KMOX.